And so Riley said, look, I know this is going to sound crazy. I promise my mom wasn't crazy. She just was processing, and she kept his body, and she kept him. I guess they had talked to someone that works at a funeral home, like an owner, and they said, okay, we'll let you hold on to the body. You need to keep the room maintained at 55 degrees. Welcome to the Hollywood Raw podcast. I'm Dax Holt. Adam Glenn is out today, so it is me rolling solo. I hope you guys can accept that. Anyway, wanted to jump into our Raw Rundown. Today is the day that we go through all the biggest stories in Hollywood, get you caught up to speed so that you know what's going on as you head into the weekend. Per usual, that is our Friday episode. Wednesday episodes, we're normally talking to someone fun or interesting or inside the Hollywood world. Obviously, we've had bodyguards on, private chefs, we've had paparazzi, we've had media moguls, we've had all kinds of fun people. This week, on Wednesday, we did a fun episode where we were just kind of shooting the shit, honestly. We were talking about Adam getting cast in the new Happy Gilmore 2 movie. We talked about Beetlejuice and the crazy connection with Jennifer Aniston. So we kind of got into just random stuff. And I got a lot of feedback. People were hitting us up saying that they absolutely love episodes like that. We can't always have episodes like that because we don't always have those fun stories, but I really did enjoy it. It was probably one of my favorite episodes of the last few months for sure. Anyway, let's get to a review real fast. This one comes from, let's see, Liz V35, great co-host. It's 5-star review, by the way. I love the chemistry between Adam and Dax. They have a great conversational flow. They also have insightful interviews. I look forward to their podcast every week. Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it. Yeah, we say it all the time, guys. You have no idea how important these reviews are for us. So if you have a moment, you've been listening to the podcast for a long time, and you think, you know what? I don't pay these guys, but I would love to give back. Head on over to Apple Podcasts, find our show page, scroll all the way to the bottom, leave a review, 5 stars, and so we get a chance to read your review on the podcast. So thank you guys for everyone who has left one. Always, always, always appreciate it. All right, let's jump right into this so we can get you guys out of here and off to the weekend. Starting with number 10, Garth Brooks, and he has been faced with this pretty big allegations. There is a lawsuit that has come forward accusing him of rape and explicit texts and really slamming the singer. So basically what had happened was that there was a woman who used to work for him and his wife, Trisha Yearwood. I guess she was a makeup artist, and she filed a complaint saying that he was not a good person to work for and that accused him of rape. And he ended up filing a counter lawsuit. So she filed her lawsuit under the name Jane Roe. He filed a counter lawsuit and actually named her. And so she slammed him saying, why would you name someone who is, a victim of a sexual assault? You don't name them. You did it out of spite. And I mean, yeah, if she filed under Jane Roe, you shouldn't be putting out her name to the public. I know that this tactic has been used in the past, but she's really, really not happy about it, saying it really shows off his true colors if he's willing to reveal her name. His response has basically been like, look, she has been holding this information that is not true, waving it over our heads, saying that she's going to put it out, saying that she wants millions of dollars, basically blackmailing him into revealing this into paying her money, and he did not want it anymore. So that is why he filed the countersuit. He is claiming that he is 100% innocent. She has put in some text messages between the two of them saying that, she texted him, warm fact, I don't want to stick that huge thing you carry, whatever. And his response was, I'll take that nickname. Thank you. I love you. And she's saying that is evidence that there was a lot of text back and forth between the two over the time that she was working for the couple. and that he actually used multiple cell phones but deleted a lot of the communications that they had together. So the ones that she has, she's kind of submitted, but she doesn't, it seems like, have a lot more that was between them. So anyway, this is getting pretty nasty. I can tell you that Garth Brooks's wife and children say that they believe his innocence. He did talk about it on a Talk Shop Live recently, saying he can't say much about the lawsuit, that it, could take 2 years to play out into court, and that there's so much more that he would like to talk about, and that he was really calling it hush money, and that it was a shakedown, that she's been trying to get money out of him for months, with no end of the threats, lies, and tragic tales. And so he's like, listen, I'm not that person. I've never had that behavior. I'm incapable of it. The ugly facts, no human should ever do. And I did not do it either. So that is his side of the story. But she has a very different take, and basically saying that, he lured her in, he created a sexually hostile work environment for her, claimed that there were numerous times where, like, they'd be traveling and he wouldn't offer her a second hotel room, saying that she needed to stay with him, saying that he allegedly was taunting her, saying that we need to have a threesome with my wife and you and I. He said that he was banging women all over their hotel room. And anyway, the lawsuit is pretty crazy. I suggest, if you have time, I mean, it's long. The amount of details in this thing go on and on and on. So if you want to know more details, I know Daily Mail had a big old write-up on it, but there was a lot of back and forth and accusations going on in this. But I can tell you, his team is claiming innocence, and so we'll see how this plays out, if it does, in fact, go to a full-blown court case, which I doubt it will. Most times when this comes up, people pay to have it go away, is the reality of it. Like, he can say he's innocent, but when it comes down to it, you're like, shoot, do I pay this person a couple $100,000, or do I pay the lawyers hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars? So sometimes it's honestly easier to make it go away by just settling it. And that's what I've seen numerous times, where very few times there's, like, Johnny Depp wanted to clear his name. That's why he took it to court. So he was like, nope, I would rather pay the lawyers millions of dollars and clear my name. Or, Taylor Swift, you remember that DJ lawsuit that she had, where he like allegedly grabbed her butt in Denver. She took it to court because she wanted to prove that he in fact did it, and she was willing to spend a ton of money. And if you remember, it was a $1 payout, and she was like, I'm doing it for the significance of it, not for the money of it. Anyway, so that is all going on in Garth Brooks' world. There are so many more lawsuits that we need to get to today, so I can't spend any more time on this particular one, but it's rolling on. All right. Let's get on to number 9. The Joker 2, huge flop in the box office. It looks like it's brought in just a little over $100 million worldwide, when they expected this to bring in a lot more. You remember the first one brought in over $1 billion, which was a huge, huge success for the franchise, the DC franchise. And it sounds like there's a lot of kind of pointing the fingers behind the scenes at Todd Phillips, the director, being accused of wanting nothing to do with DC, which is kind of a shocking allegation, considering DC is the parent company of all, obviously, Batman and Aquaman, Wonder Woman, all those kind of big comic book franchises. And so if you're not wanting to communicate with DC, why are you doing a DC movie? Turning this thing into a massive musical is being criticized, and saying that he's ignoring the DC fan base. And if you ignore the DC fan base, they're not going to go watch it. Those are the people that are going to come watch this movie. So when you've got this super dark story about this origin of a comic book villain, and then the second one, you don't really go along with the same plot line, I think a lot of people were disappointed. A lot of the reviews from people who were excited to see it let down. I myself was very excited to see the first one. I was going to go see this one just because I thought the first one was good. It was weird but it was good. It was super dark because of how they did it. And then I found out it was a musical, and that's where you lost me. I did not, I've seen people were saying, oh, well, you see Lady Gaga singing and they do the commercials and preview. I didn't know that it was a musical. And I'm very glad to get that heads up before the fact, because that would have really pissed me off to get in there and then there's just singing the whole time. I saw Lady Gaga performing, but I thought, oh, is this part of a music video or trailers where she's singing? And they do that a lot for promotion for movies. So I probably won't be going to see it anytime soon. Not to mention, everyone just seems really pissed off about it, so I'm not exactly excited to see it at this point. But anyway, the other part about it is during the opening scenes of the movie, you don't see the big opening sequence for the DC Studios logo. And apparently that is being also taken as a huge snub against DC of, again, why are you creating a DC movie if you want nothing to do with DC? It sounds like there's a lot of people behind the scenes that were in the movie making where like Todd was not talking to them, that were a part of the studio. And so there's a lot of friction between DC, Warner, the chair people over at Warner Brothers, the CEO of some of these big companies. It just seems like this became a huge mess and no one wants to take blame for it. And so they're all just pointing fingers at each other. Kind of sad though, honestly. So we'll see. Yeah. I don't know. Hit me up, guys, if you did end up seeing it and you are part of our private Facebook group called Off the Record. Hit me up. I'm just curious. Did you see it? Did you like it? Were you disappointed that it was a musical? Did you know it was a musical? Just hit me up with your thoughts on it, because I find it fascinating how everyone else looks at it. So anyway. All right, number 8, Derek Wibley from Sum 41 dropping some major tea. He's got a new book out, and he claims in this book that he did cocaine with Paris Hilton, that they were making out topless, and this book is pretty wild. I guess people don't think it's that crazy to hear Paris Hilton did cocaine, at least. Whatever. That seemed like probably one of the more tamer things that we've heard from Paris Hilton. But he's got his new memoir out called Walking Disaster, and he describes in there a 6 months tryst with Paris Hilton. And this happened back in 2003. He said that she claimed that she kept blowing her purse with her as the pair allegedly got high on cocaine during a topless makeout session. And that is just the tip of the iceberg, because I said that I guess she recognized him at some kind of hangout back in the day and walked up to him and said, "Do you remember me?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I remember you. You weren't kind to me the first time that we met." And she smiled and she's like, "Oh, no, that wasn't me. No, I wasn't. No, I was totally nice to you." And then he goes on to say that basically kicked off their relationship, that night they ended up hanging out at the bar that they were at for a little bit, and then went back to some big mansion in Hollywood where they just were making out, having a good old time. He said, it just felt like it was out of some like weird old 80s movie where they were hanging out in this old school mansion and just doing coke off each other and enjoying it. And he said, listen, Paris pulled out this coke and I did it a bump, and it turned out to be the purest, most amazing blow I've ever had in my entire life. It wasn't edgy. It wasn't speedy. I didn't feel my heart racing at all. It just felt fucking incredible. He said in that 3 a.m. And a show the next day, the pair left the party, recounting their steamy encounter on the top of a vintage car. And I wouldn't expect anything less from Paris Hilton than to have the best blow on the planet, because, she's got that, like, Beverly Hills money where I'm sure it was crazy, I don't know. I just picture her with having great drugs just because of who she was. I don't think that's her anymore. She's a mom. She's totally changed up her life at this point. But back then, I see that 100% being the case. Anyway, so he goes on to talk all about that night, followed by many, many other random party nights where they are just having a great time. One time, I guess they were with Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots. And if I remember the story correctly from there, he was basically saying that they were doing a bunch of drugs. And then it sounded like the cops showed up to the party that they were at. So they were like, shit, what do we do? What do we do? They're going to come in here. They're going to bust us. And they came up with a plan of, let's just pretend that we're having an orgy. And so they were all just going to start stripping off their clothes, jump into bed. So if cops busted in the door, they'd be like, oh my God, you guys are just having an orgy. You guys weird sex freaks. We're just going to get out of here. And the cops never even came in. I guess they went to the door for a noise complaint. They said sorry and left. So they got they got halfway into their fake orgy for no reason. Anyway, definitely. I feel like this is one of those books you might actually want to read, because I bet he's going to be naming a lot of other people in this book. If you got Scott Weiland's name coming up, you got Paris Hilton's name coming up, there are going to be so many more. So might be one you want to check out, or wait for it to come out on that podcast we always talk about, which is like the celebrity book review, which they do the reading, you do the listening, which is kind of my style. Anyway, let's move on. Kanye West back in the news per usual. Kanye West is now being accused of hiring a fixer to follow his wife Bianca, investigate the Kardashians, and this is all part of a new lawsuit. He is being sued by the man who is claiming to be his former director of intelligence, who alleges the rapper ordered him to orchestrate investigations into both the lives of Bianca and his former in-laws, the Kardashians. And in this new document that was obtained by TMZ, the man is suing anonymously as John Doe, claiming the rapper never paid him for work done over several pay periods and caused emotional distress in this lawsuit. He said back in December 2022 that Ye had initially hired him to be a staffer to be his campaign manager for his presidential run, but later reworked his role to be the director of intelligence. The man claims that the position required him to be responsible for handling his NDAs and other investigations, and to really look closer into Kardashians and Bianca, and that he was tasked with hiring private investigators to tail Bianca without her knowledge whenever she traveled solo, including visits to her family in Australia, which is super creepy if this is in fact true, that he didn't trust her enough that he had to send private investigators to follow her around. And that he was also obviously looked into the Kardashians' supposed various criminal links, and that he believed that his former in-laws participated in sex trafficking, which, okay. And then Doe alleges that in May 2024, that Kanye began exhibiting erratic behavior, possibly as a result of his alleged nitrous oxide usage, after he got, his titanium weird grill vampire look, and they began laying off employees and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, this is pretty interesting. And this is also, if you've been following the news, Kanye has been all over the place, but he's been all over Tokyo. He was all over Tokyo alone. So there was a lot of rumors coming out that him and Bianca were on the verge of a divorce, that they were both kind of lawyering up, that it was headed to Divorceville. And then yesterday, photos came out of them hanging out in Tokyo, arm in arm. She's cradling his face. So maybe not true. Yeah, I don't really know what's happening there, because they were not spotted together for quite some time. She was hanging out with her family. He was in Tokyo all over without her for a very long period of time. And so a lot of people were convinced that they were getting divorced, but it looks like that may not in fact be the case, or they're doing some quick PR to squash those rumors in the meantime until they figure other stuff out. I don't know here, but another day, another Kanye West story. It seems like every day. It's actually calmed down a little bit. I feel like it used to be a lot more Kanye. Now I think we've got so many Diddy things going on that people aren't focusing so much on Kanye. They're more focused on Diddy. But yeah, I am curious to see how this one unravels, because we just had a Hollywood fixer on the other day, and I'm very curious if he knows who this person was or has any knowledge of what this might be about, because that could be really, really interesting. Okay. Number 6, the Presley family back in the news. Lisa Marie Presley's book is out, and Riley Keough, her daughter, just sat down with Oprah to talk all about this book. But there is some really strange and fascinating parts of this book that are coming to light. And I think even you guys might be totally surprised, as I was, about what are some of the things that she is revealing in here. But anyway, so she sat down with Oprah at Graceland for a 1-hour CBS special devoted to the discussion of the new book, From Here to the Great Unknown, which is the name of her mom's book, which she ended up finishing up after her mom's death. And she got into really the final 2 years of her life and how she was really wrapped up into a very bad, just overrun with grief after her health was failing, the passing of her son, which I think was one of the big topics that they got into. But Ben was the son's name. He died by suicide back in 2020. And Lisa really apparently never was able to come out of the grief and depression from losing a child. And she was unable to decide where to bury him. And this was the part that my jaw dropped. She didn't know where to bury him, whether that was going to be Graceland or Hawaii. But she also had this feeling that she could, possibly process her grief by having his presence remain in the house for an extended period of time, even in death. And so Riley said, look, I know this is going to sound crazy. I promise my mom wasn't crazy. She just was processing, and she kept his body, and she kept him. I guess they had talked to someone that works at a funeral home, like an owner, and they said, okay, we'll let you hold on to the body. You need to keep the room maintained at 55 degrees, and we can send someone to help take care of them, to tend to the body, to make sure that everything stays in I don't want to say good condition, but a condition that you can still live in the same house with them. And so she had him in the home for an extended period of time, and until she could figure out where she wanted to bury him. And to most people, myself included, it sounds wild. I guess at one point they even had someone come over. They were going to get matching tattoos. So apparently Ben had some tattoos on his arms. And so Lisa and Riley, they wanted to get matching tattoos. And the tattoo artist came to the house and said, okay, so do you have any photos of Ben's tattoos so that I can go ahead and copy them? And they said, if you want, you can look at them on him. And they took the tattoo artist into the room to look at the tattoos on Ben's body, to then copy them and place them on them. And they said, and Riley's like, listen, I know this sounds absurd, but I promise you, we are not crazy. It was a mother going through grief. But wow, what a fascinating story. And I am assuming there's much, much more in this because she was going through some extreme grief and just couldn't get herself out of it, unfortunately. So anyway, check out that episode with Oprah. I'm sure that there is more that I haven't even got to that you are going to want to check out. Anyway, all right, let us get on to Number 5. Number 5, Justin Timberlake postponing his New Jersey concert due to a quote-unquote injury, and saying that he is so disappointed. So he posted on IG, just says, I am so sorry to postpone tonight's show. I have an injury that is preventing me from performing. I am so disappointed not to see you all, but I am working to reschedule it ASAP. I promise to make it up to you and give you the show y'all deserve. Thank you guys for your understanding. Appreciate your support always. Okay. I may be a dick here, but I'm kind of surprised he didn't say what the injury was, just because there is so much speculation with sobriety with him after everything that happened with him getting busted for DUI, the court cases. He's just under so much scrutiny that I feel like you would have to say a little more than injury. And it could be something that really he doesn't want to say out loud. He could be like, I've got crazy hemorrhoids. I don't want to get on stage. I can't dance. My butt itches. I don't know, something. But He didn't. He just said injury and left it at that. So I feel like it leads to more people speculating, oh shit, is he going to rehab? Did he fall down the stairs because he was too drunk? Like, your mind just starts going wild. I feel like in this situation, he could have put something a little more. I mean, he's not obligated to, don't get me wrong. No one's obligated to say exactly what it is. But when you are Justin and everything has been going kind of haywire for you, I think you should say, my vocal cords are strained. I can't perform tonight. Really sorry. I threw out my back. Whatever the case, honestly, even if it's a lie, because not everyone wants to tell their drama, and just say, listen, my throat, it's out of commission. Sorry, can't perform tonight. I think it leaves less speculation than saying I have an injury, but that's just me. So a lot of people obviously frustrated with the situation. They're excited to see him, and they will just have to wait until that show gets rescheduled. So whatever, another day, more drama for Justin Timberlake. It's kind of weird now that I'm talking about it. It really feels like there's certain people where the drama hits all at once so hard for like an extended period of time, and then they just kind of like go out of the spotlight for a while. I was thinking about it was with Ariana Grande. One of her songs came on, the Thank You Next song came on, and I thought, there was a time where I felt like every story every day was about Ariana Grande, about who she was dating, about what she's doing now. And it seemed like everywhere I turned, it was just all about her. And then she just disappeared. And I know you can see her on Instagram or whatever, but the news coverage of her was non-freaking stop. And now it's like chilled out a bit, which is, kind of nice, but kind of surprising. All right, number 4, Snoop Dogg getting his very crazy legal past all sealed up and put away. So earlier this year, but we're just finding out about it now, Snoop had basically asked a judge to seal his records way back to 1993, where there was that murder charge that was on his record. If you remember, this was back in the time when Snoop was an upcoming superstar. He infamously got arrested following an MTV and Music Awards performance when he performed "Murder Was the Case," and the track got so much scrutiny and press and all of this that there were a frenzy over allegations. Snoop and his bodyguard were accused of shooting a man in an LA park back in 1993. There was a non-guilty verdict in 1996 that was a huge deal for him, and it basically shaped his career and really, rocket launched him. But that allegation was still sitting on his record all these years later, and he was like, look, I got a non-guilty verdict. Please get rid of this. And I don't know why. Maybe it was for travel. Maybe because there's some countries that won't let you in if you have that kind of stuff on your record. I don't really know why. But he ended up, the judge signed off of it, sealed it, which is huge for him. But this all went down prior to the Olympics, because if you remember, he was kind of like the big celebrity endorsement. You saw him all over the Paris Olympics. He was kind of like the face of USA as he was running around, and got paid millions of dollars to be that celebrity spokesperson. And so we know that it was sealed up before summer. So maybe it had something to do with that they had been planning this, and maybe France had some kind of issue with people traveling overseas with that kind of item on the record. I don't know. I've just seen it before. I don't know if that is the case here. But either way, Snoop is able to freely move about the cabin. All right. Let's move on to number 3. Anne Hathaway. I love this story so much, but she is apologizing to a reporter who had a super, super cringy interview with her back in 2012. I'm sure you've seen this. It went all over the internet back when it first happened, but it was basically her talking to this interviewer, and it was for Les Mis, and the reporter said basically to the effect of, hey, so I'm going to ask you a question, and if you could sing the answer for me, that would be great. And Anne was like, yeah, well, you can ask the question, but I'm not singing. You can sing it if you want. And it just was like, oh, God. I remember at the time, Anne Hathaway was just getting tons of crap because it was just like everything she did just, it was not kind. She was getting shit on all over Hollywood. People were like, why is this lady so mean all the time? Anyway, so apparently she reached out to the journalist and issued an apology all these years later. The woman is a Norwegian entertainment journalist, and this was, like I said, at a press junket for Les Mis back in the day, and so apparently Anne's rep reached out to this woman and just said, hey, I've got an email from Anne who would like to apologize, and then sent a big old long apology about the whole thing, kind of explained where her mind was at in the time and why she did what she did. And the reporter shared this whole thing, not the email itself, but she talked about it on social media and said she did not expect to get this email. Super surprised, thought it was very kind that Anne went out of her way to send this all these years later, and then said, like, I'd love to sit down and make up for this whole thing. And so she's apparently going to be interviewing her for an upcoming movie. It's funny, while I'm saying this whole thing, I'm like, is this a really good PR stunt? Because if you think about it, like, everyone's going to want to watch that interview between these two women all these years later. They're going to want to watch that interview and to see their chemistry and to see what they talk about, all while promoting her new movie. God, if this is a PR stunt, I swear to God, this is so brilliant. Either way, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to think positive, and I'm going to say Anne just had a change of heart. She had a come to Jesus moment, wanted to apologize to this woman who she treated poorly, and that's all it is. But it probably isn't. It's probably just a PR stunt. God damn it. I get sucked into these every time. All right, moving on. Number 2, obviously, we got to bring up J-Lo. She is breaking her silence on the Ben Affleck divorce. Kind of just being honest about the whole thing. She did an interview in Interview Magazine, which was published on October 9th, where she sat down and talked to Nikki Glaser and said, you have to be good on your own. I thought I had learned that, but I didn't. And then this summer I had to be like, I need to go off and be on my own. I want to prove to myself that I can do that. And she goes, being in a relationship doesn't define me. I can't be looking for happiness in other people. I have to have happiness within myself. And if you think about it, J-Lo has been in consistent relationships for like over a decade. And so I think she finally realized, like, I need to figure out myself before I can continuously keep being in relations with other people and they're not making me happy, or I'm not making them happy, or whatever. And she goes, here's the thing. She goes, look, I'm not looking for anyone because everything I've done over the past 25, 30 years, being in these different challenging situations, what can I fucking do now when I just do me flying on my own? What if I'm just free? And I think that's a really good, healthy way to look at it, is be on your own. Learn who you are before you can then get back in another relationship and truly make yourself healthy and happy. And it's probably... Listen, J-Lo was out the other night and she looks unbelievable. So even a divorce, you can't make her look bad at all. And people are just saying how good she looks, how healthy she looks. But sometimes me time goes a long way. And so, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people mocking her right now because she's had so many failed relationships. But whatever. Jennifer said that, she goes, I see all the rumors. I see all the stories that people write about me and talk about me. And I just don't think she cares. She's not affected by it. I think she wants people to love her. I think she wants to be respected. She also wanted this relationship to really, really work out, and it didn't. And it is what it is. So you just got to move forward and shake it off. That's all you can really do. And especially if you're in the public eye, kind of sucks. I would hate to go through a divorce and it's just our friends and family that know, let alone the entire world who's basically laughing at you and saying, how I knew you weren't going to work out with Ben Affleck. Ugh, God, horrible. All right. Moving on to number 1. It's going to be a Diddy story, but basically here it is. Diddy is now implying that the U.S. government is behind the leak of that infamous Cassie video where he was on camera beating her down in the hallways of a hotel here in LA. He is now claiming or implying that the federal government orchestrated the leak to the media. And so they've now filed some new legal documents. TMZ obtained them. And Diddy's attorneys accused the feds of misconduct in this criminal case, namely alleging that they orchestrated the leak to CNN. And that the video in question is obviously from 2016. You saw him brutally beating Cassie in the hallway of that swanky LA hotel during their relationships. But he is blaming the Department of Homeland Security, not the U.S. Attorney's Office. They wanted to make that very clear. But they said that they had basically reached out to Diddy's team to get comment, and that is CNN who reached out to Diddy's team to get comment, and that they were intending to publish. And the correspondent indicated CNN came across the video and is currently in our possession, surveillance video from the Intercontinental Hotel. And his attorneys say that after being approached by CNN, they emailed the prosecutors assigned to Diddy's case and told them they had gotten word about this video being in their possession. And they said, my concern is that someone, not any of you, not that any of you people over at the prosecutors, would send this over, but I bring it to your attention solely because I imagine you didn't want this to happen any more than I would have, or that we would have. And Diddy's lawyers say that after CNN released the video, an assistant United States attorney assigned to the case responded, "We really appreciate you giving us a heads up, and now we have seen the video." I don't know if that means that it didn't send it, but his attorney said that the Department of Homeland Security is likely the source of the leak for a few reasons, pointing out that DHS agents were often quoted in news stories about Diddy's raids in an investigation, and that the legal team also says Cassie was not likely the source of the leak because her lawsuit against Diddy didn't make it seem like they had the tape and that she had no motive to leak to the press, which is really interesting because everyone was pointing towards Cassie as being the leak of this video. It settled that lawsuit in a day. And so everyone just, I think, assumed, oh, Cassie leaked this video. She had her hands on it. She put it out and to make him look bad. And Diddy doesn't even believe that Cassie leaked this video. So I thought that might be the most interesting thing out of this whole story. But really, he is saying that this was in a motive to damage his reputation and really help the federal agents out in their case against him. Because, you know, they've got a huge case against him where they raided his homes in Los Angeles, Miami, and they handcuffed his kids, all kinds of stuff. And now there's a lot of allegations out against him for this. So the other big part of this lawsuit, or not even this lawsuit, this court case, is that Diddy was back in court on Thursday. This was their third attempt to get him out on bail. It looks like they may actually have a court case or a jury trial coming up in May is kind of what it sounds like it's being estimated. So they were like, please, let's get him out because we don't want him to sit for that long behind bars. And so they asked the judge, again, judge said, I don't even have the paperwork in front of me, so I cannot grant this, nor am I going to. And so he is going to be remaining behind bars again after the third time that they are pleading with a judge to let him out, saying that he is not a flight risk, that they will sell his jet, they will do all these things. He turned himself in, so why on God's earth would he then be a flight risk? I don't believe that. He is worth $1 bazillion. He could easily slip out of radar, move to some far off country, and we never see him again, and he gets to live free. Why wouldn't you do that? If you had the means where you could be like, cool, I'm either going to go to jail and be locked up potentially for the rest of my life, or go move to some far off land where they can't get to me, kind of seems like a no-brainer case to me. I'd be out of here too. So, so anyway, he's going to be remaining in jail. He's not getting out anytime soon. And so this is a big deal. It sounds like the trial, like I said, will be scheduled for early May 5th, 2025, with 3 weeks for the government case, and the defense will need about 1 week. The next conference is scheduled for December 18th. So he did look pretty happy in court on Thursday. All of his kids were present. His mom was there. She flew in from Florida after the proceedings ended. They all kind of filed out arm in arm, I think, as like a sign of solidarity, and that he does have like the dream team when it comes to a legal team. And so he's got the best of the best, and he still can't get out, which is probably very aggravating and frustrating for someone who has had the means and the money to get anything done he has ever wanted. And this is the one time he can't. It is out of his hands. You've got too many more powerful people above him. And keep in mind, the government is going through like multiple terabytes computer data. And I don't know if this is all of his crazy freak offs on tape. I don't know if this is the tapes that are running his house. I don't know if this is documents, but they're going through all of this data and really building this monstrous case above around him. And I think that's why everything is being pushed off, so they can look through all the evidence here and to essentially take him down is my assumption. And he, to this day, is still claiming innocent, saying that all these allegations towards him is to take down a successful black man. And that is really what his lawyer is pursuing in this criminal case against him, saying that this is the reason behind it, that it's not that he's done all these things wrong, but they want to derail a successful black man. Anyway, so that is your top 10 stories of the week. That is your Raw Rundown. You are now informed. You're ready to go into the weekend. Again, if you've got a second, head on over, join our private Facebook group called Off the Record. Curious to hear what you guys have to say about the Joker 2 movie. And hit me up there. Follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. You can watch this video on YouTube. You can also watch it on Red Coral Universe. If you need any of these links, including to our private Facebook group, you can head on over to HollywoodRaw.com. We got a link tree there with links to everywhere you might want to get to. So thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Adam will be back next week. You can follow me at Dax Holt. You can follow him at Adam Glenn, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Guys, hope you liked that video. We got a lot more where that came from.
Hit that bell, like, subscribe, share with a friend. The best you can do to support us is really doing that. And we really need the money because we need hair gel.